Are we on? Yes? Okay. So we'll recite Hare Krishna, dear devotees, happy Radhashtami. We'll start with Mangal Charan prayers. So, like the Mother Prabhu is showing the Mangal Charan prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Shrinuta Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantostu Bhadrani Vidnuti Sutsatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Om Agyantimirandasya Jananjana Shlakaya Chakshurunritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitya Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschataya Deshatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadda Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you very much for joining for our Sunday ISKCON Portland Bhagavatam class. I'm scheduled to read verse 1, Canto 1, chapter 15, verse 17. Do you want to display, Prabhu, or can I screen share?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Can you see?
Yes.
Can
Prabhu.
you see my screen? Or yes?
Yes.
Okay. So we're reading the chapter, Pandavas Retire Timely, chapter 15. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter 15, verse 17. Satyavrata kumatina atmada ishvaro me Yatpada apavaya bhajanti bhavya Mam shantavaham arayo ratino bhuvistam Na praharan yat anubhava nirashta chittaha Satye vrata kumatitana atmada ishvaro me Yatpada apavaya bhajanti bhavya Mam shrantavaham arayo ratino bhuvistam Na praharan yadanubhava nirashta chittaha Satyavrata kumatina atmado ishvaro me Yatpada apavaya bhajanti bhavya Mam shrantavaham arayo ratino bhuvistam Na praharan yadanubhava nirashta chittaha. Anybody else like to repeat?
I'll try to. Satyavrata kumat atmana ishvaro me yat pada padnam abhave bhajanti bhavya mam shrenta vam aryo ratino bhuvishtam na prathanam yad anubhava nisharta chitta.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else?
I'll give it time. Sautye vrita kumati natmada ishvaro me yat pada padmam abhavaya bhajanti bhava mam shranta vaham arayo ratina bhuvistam na praharam yat anubhava nirasta chitta. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Were you scheduled to give this lecture? I sent an email a while back, and I have myself on the schedule, but I know I didn't update the schedule. Were you scheduled for this, Janita Prabhu? I don't think so. Right?
I don't remember seeing an email
No,
from this.
it was me. It was me. I
Okay.
just want to make sure I'm not taking somebody's turn.
Okay. Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you. सौत्ये वृतः कुमतिनात्मद ईश्वरो मे यत्पादपद्मम् आभवाय भजन्ति भव्याः मां श्रान्तवाहम् अरयो रतिनो भुविस्तं न प्राहरन् यद् अनुभावनिरस्तचित्ताः. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Okay, we'll start. Word by word. Satye, regarding a chariot driver. Vritaha, engaged. Kumatina, by bad consciousness. Atmadha, one who delivers. Ishvara, the Supreme Lord. Me, my. Yat, whose. Padapadam, lotus feet. Abhavaya, in the matter of salvation. Bhajanti, do render service. Bhavya, the intelligent class of men. Mam, unto me. Shranta, thirsty. Vaham, my horses. Arayaha, the enemies. Ratinaha, a great general. Bhuvistam, while standing on the ground. Na, did not. Praharan, attack. Yat, whose. Anubhav, mercy. Nirasta, being absent. Chittaha, mind. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Trying to get it all in. It was by His mercy only that my enemies neglected to kill me when I am descended from my chariot to get water for my thirsty horses. And it was due to my lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared engage him as my chariot driver, for he is worshipped and offered services by the best men to attain salvation. It was by his mercy only that my enemies neglected to kill me when I descended from my chariot to get water for my thirsty horses. And it was due to my lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared engage him as my chariot driver, for he is worshipped and offered services by the best men to attain salvation. Okay. Report by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the object of worship, both by impersonalists and by the devotees of the Lord. The impersonalists worship his glowing effulgence emanating from his transcendental body of eternal form, bliss, and knowledge, and the devotees worship him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are below even the impersonalists consider him to be one of the great historical personalities. The Lord, however, descends to attract all by his specific transcendental pastimes, and thus he plays the part of the most perfect master, friend, son, and lover. His transcendental relationship with Arjuna was in friendship, and the Lord therefore played the part perfectly, as he did with his parents, lovers, and wives. While playing in such a transcendental relation, the devotee forgets by the internal potency of the Lord that his friend or son is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although sometimes the devotee is bewildered by the acts of the Lord. After the departure of the Lord, Arjuna was conscious of his great friend, but there was no mistaken part of Arjuna, nor any ill estimation of the Lord. Intelligent men are attracted by transcendental acting of the Lord with a pure, unalloyed devotee like Arjuna. In the war field, scarcity of water is a well-known fact. Water is very rare there, and both animals and men working strenuously in the war field constantly require water to quench their thirst. Especially wounded soldiers and generals feel very thirsty at the time of death. And sometimes so happens that simply for the want of water, one has to die unavoidably. But such scarcity of water was solved in the battle of Kurukshetra by means of boring the ground. Boring means putting a hole in the ground. By God's grace, water can be easily obtained from any place if there's facility for boring the ground. The modern system works on the same principle of boring the ground, but modern engineers are still unable to dig immediately wherever necessary. It appears, however, from the history as far back as the days of Pandavas, that big generals like Arjun could at once supply water even to the horses, and what to speak of men. By drawing water from underneath the hard ground simply by penetrating the stratum with a sharp arrow, a method still unknown to modern scientists. It was by his mercy only that my enemies neglected to kill me when I descended from my chariot to get water for my thirsty horses. It was due to my lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared engage him as my chariot driver, for he's worshipped and offered services by the best men to attain salvation. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnaprasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Shri Srinivadi Pashtataya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasani Gaur Bhaktinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this chapter is called The Pandavas Retire Timely. You can see that up here. So in the first portion, up until verse 26, Arjun is revealing the loss of his dearmost friend and simultaneously remembering their intimate dealings together. And he's recollecting this to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So Shuddha Goswami, in the beginning, I'll just do a recap, relates how Arjun's lotus-like heart dried up and his bodily luster diminished even further after he heard Yudhishthira Maharaj's questions about, because Yudhishthira Maharaj had a growing sense of something being wrong. And Arjun couldn't speak, his voice was constricted with grief. Because he was in separation from Sri Krishna Bhagavan, who had always acted as Arjun's well-wisher, benefactor, cousin, intimate cousin, and chariot driver. And remembering Sri Krishna's presence in his life, and now distressed by Sri Krishna's absence, Arjun felt affection for the Lord overflowing in his heart. Srila Swami says something very beautiful. He says that Arjun's eyes were filled with tears, and he's wiping away the tears with his palms, and he could not speak. So Arjun is caught up in grief of separation from Bhagavan. But it's clear that Arjun still realizes, yes, Krishna is his intimate friend, cousin, chariot driver, but he refers to Shri Krishna earlier in the chapter in text 5 as Hari. So he's aware of that power of Bhagavan. So his sadness was not due to thinking some calamity or some, terrible thing had happened to Shri Krishna. His lamentation was an expression of his ecstatic love, his Thai bhav for Krishna. And so subsequently, in this section up to verse 26, Arjun simply is, remembering his intimate exchanges with Bhagwan. One after another, he first remembers how Krishna helped Pandavas obtain Draupadi. Then he remembers how Krishna empowered them to even conquer the Devatas and enjoy heaven. And then he remembers how Krishna cared for the Pandavas and helped them overcome their powerful enemies, such as Jarasandha, etc. Then he remembers how Krishna avenged the insults directed at the Pandavas. meaning by what happened in the gambling match to Draupadi, and that he ended the lives of those who had dared to loosen her hair. Arjuna remembers how Sri Krishna saved them from all these intrigues where Durvas Muni was incited by Duryodhana to come and cause distress for the Pandavas and Draupadi. Arjuna remembers how the Devatas became pleased with Arjuna, even satisfying Lord Shivji in battle. He remembers how, by Krishna's mercy, Arjuna was able to give shelter to the Devatas, like the pastime within the Dev. He remembers here how Krishna saved Arjuna and his brothers' lives in the battle of Kurukshetra. So these are his remembrance of intimate exchanges with Krishna, even though Krishna has departed from the planet. So, so following the flow of this, I thought it'd be nice to read this verse. Here is where Ashwatthama has killed the sons of the Pandavas. And Arjun pursues Ashwatthama with Krishna Bhagavan. And then, pardon me, and then Sri Krishna Bhagavan encourages Arjun to counteract the Brahmastra that Ashwatthama has created with Arjun's own Brahmastra. And then Arjun speaks some wonderful words directly to Sri Krishna Bhagavan. He said, "You have descended as an incarnation to remove the burden of the world and to benefit your friends, especially those who are your exclusive devotees and are constantly wrapped in meditation upon you." Srila Prabhupada says something very wonderful. He said, "The Lord is above the modes of material nature." Well, I'll go back. Lord is everyone's father. No one can be his father, yet no one can be his son. His devotees are his kinsmen, his devotees are his relations. This is transcendental pastime. It has nothing to do with mundane ideas of relationships, fatherhood, or anything like that. As mentioned above, the Lord is above the modes of material nature, and thus there's nothing mundane about his kinsmen and relations in devotional service. Sorry, I'm on emergency duty, so I just got a message I have to check. Please forgive me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, sorry about that. So, so, the question is, about the appearance of the Lord. So in this, it seems like the Lord descends to benefit his friends and devotees. So Jiva Goswami addresses this in his Bhagavad Sandarbha about questioning whether the Lord is forced to descend as a result of his relationship with devotees. And he says that Krishna must take birth in the material world to give happiness to his devotees. He cannot avoid coming or descending to the world. And so Jiva Goswami poses a question, well, does that conflict with Sri Krishna Bhagavan's independence? And he says it does not, because his appearing in the world is to give happiness to his devotees. But that does not distract from his independence. He comes because he is merciful to his devotees. And he's free from all faults, because lack of mercy would have been a fault. So listen to this carefully. He's free from all faults because lack of mercy would be a fault. So he's also free from our lack of mercifulness. So simultaneously, he's independent. He descends as he desires, yet he's merciful because he's without fault. And not having mercy would be a fault. So Jiva Goswami says that qualities exist in Bhagwan that may sometimes contradict one another. And that's okay. That's accepted. So going back to this, so Krishna is coming, descending, especially for the devotees, to give happiness to them and protection. And protection. Arjun here talks about how it's only by Krishna's mercy, Krishna descended for that purpose, to give mercy to his devotees, that Arjun survived. Shri Krishna himself says to Arjun, Shipram bhavati dharmatma sasvacha shantim nigachati kuntaya pratijani name bhakta pranashati. O son of Kunti, declare boldly that my devotees will never perish. So there are many examples of this. Gajendra and Draupadi are well-known devotees that are often exalted for having prayed to Sri Krishna Bhagavan in times of protection. So that's one approach of getting protection, to pray to Bhagavan. Other approaches, Amrish Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj, they just fix their mind on Sri Krishna's lotus feet. And that whatever is the will of Sri Bhagavan, they just tolerate it. They were convinced that whatever will happen to them will be the will of Bhagavan. So they tolerated, because they understood in their heart Sri Krishna knew their complete surrender and had already made arrangements to protect them. And simply because they were his devotees, they will never perish. So there are unlimited incidents in our Shastra in which the Lord protects his devotees. Arjun, Draupadi, Amrish Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, etc., etc. In some pastimes, the Lord is glorified by prayers for protection. And in some cases, the Lord is protecting his devotees even without being offered prayers for protection. This is the kindness of Bhagavan. Because praying to Krishna for protection is not praying for relief for these exclusive devotees, as Srila Prabhupada calls them. Because these devotees themselves are worshipful because they've understood Sri Krishna is their shelter and the ultimate protector. So this verse talks about Krishna's protection. So whether praying for protection or having deep realization that the Lord is one's ever well-wishing benefactor, Still, the understanding is that Shri Krishna is our only shelter. And so this goes towards these ideas of surrendering to Krishna's will. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 22.99, Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami states, Sharanagata Akinchara Eka Ilakshana Dharamadhye Praveshya Atma Samparna. There are two kinds of devotees: those who are fully satiated and free from all material desires, and those who are fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord. Their qualities are one and the same, but those who are fully surrendered to Krishna's lotus feet are qualified with another transcendental quality, Atma Samparna, full surrender without reservation. Those are fully satisfied and free from desire, and those who are fully surrendered. So elevating those that are fully surrendered. So this is where that verse that Srila Prabhupada puts down in the Sarva Dharman Pratyaje comes, reference from. It's actually in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Anukul yasya sankalpa pratikul yasya vrajanam rakshishyati vishvash goptripte varanam tata atma nikshepa karpanya sadvida sharnagati. The six dimensions of surrender are acceptance of those things favorable to devotional service, the rejection of unfavorable things, the conviction that the Lord will give protection, the acceptance of the Lord as one's guardian or master, full self-surrender and humility. So Sri Jiva Goswami explores this in detail. And out of these six aspects, he states that the fourth item, Goptripte Varanam, here, accepting the Lord as one's guardian, is the essence, and the other are limbs of that essence. Meaning the deliberate acceptance of Bhagwan as one's guardian. And he says the reason for this is because the act of selecting someone as one's guardian or protector is actually the true meaning of Sharanagati, which means approaching someone for shelter. So Goptripte Varanam is the essence of Sharanagati, surrender, accepting the Lord as one's protector, guardian, maintainer. O Krishna, please protect me. Accept me as your own. So there's a subtle difference, he says, between Goptrite Varanam and Rakshishyati Vishvash, meaning he will protect us. He said the subtle differences in Rakshishyati Vishvash. One has faith that Bhagwan, Shri Bhagwan will protect him. But in the fourth, Goptrite Varanam, that the devotee is consciously calling for help, as Gajendra did, or as Draupadi did, when she was being disrobed with Dushasan. One whose body is fully surrendered takes shelter of the holy place. And he says, my Lord, I'm yours. Understanding this in mind, he enjoys spiritual bliss. So Arjuna's surrendered soul to Bhagwan, and he is amplifying what surrender means. To accept the Lord as one's only shelter. And to have faith in that shelter. Not just lip service, but something from the heart. Now Arjuna is feeling separation from Bhagwan. And Srila Prabhupada talks about this transcendental relationship with Arjun was in friendship, and therefore Lord played the part perfectly. While playing in such a transcendental relationship, the devotee forgets that his friend or son is Bhagwan. But we can see in the beginning of this chapter, Lord Arjun called Shri Krishna Hari, so he knows about the Lord's power. Arjun was conscious of his great friend, but sometimes he forget. So Arjun's Thai Bhav, or his permanent relationship, Bhakti Ras, is Sakhya. Permanent relationship is a Sakhya relationship with Bhagwan. He experiences temporary emotions like we see in the Gita and here of grief, shoka, and fear, bahaya, on the battlefield. These in the rasa theory are called vyabhachari bhavas. They're waves in the ocean of bhakti ras that Arjuna is swimming in. They don't define his core relationship in Sakya Bhav. They're things that act as excitants for that mood that Arjuna has, or that eternal relationship he has. Because Arjuna's relationship with Krishna is a deep, confidential friendship built on absolute trust and confidence. It's called Vishrambha. I'll show the verse. And this is the fundamental mood of Sthai Bhav, confidence and absolute trust. Lord is my protector and shelter. Arjuna goes through temporary emotional crises. We can see this in Kurukshetra War. At the beginning, Arjuna is overcome with grief and the thought of fighting his relatives and beloved teachers. And this is a temporary crisis of faith and duty, not his true nature. And again in chapter 11, Bhagwan Shri Krishna, when Arjuna asks, how does the Lord permeate the world, shows his Vishwarup, his universal form. And Arjuna initially experiences astonishment. But then he experiences fear when he sees time as death. But these things do not alter his fundamental emotion, which is friendship, Sakhya Bhav. Arjuna shows his willingness to listen to Krishna and align himself with the purpose of Sri Krishna. His initial despair in Bhagavad Gita is a crucial starting point of an identity crisis that Arjuna is experiencing. But it is his Sakhya Bhav, Sakhya Ras, that his Sakhya Ras is his friendship with Krishna is what ultimately guides him through the battlefield. And like all relationship with Krishna, there's love. And Sri Rupa Goswami states in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that in Bhakti Rasa there's actually only one Sthai Bhav, which is love for Krishna. The love manifests in 5 different flavors, is what he says, as we know. Shantaras, Asyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, and Madhuraras. And this is explored nicely here. And I pulled this because Arjuna is exemplifying Sakyarati. This is explained both in CC, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and of course then in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But first spoken in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Here it says Santara Guna Tasyare Sevana Sakya Duihai Tasyara Sambrahma Gaurava Seva Sakya Viswas Maya. The qualities of Santaras, that's relationship and neutrality without actual service of Bhagwan. and the service of Dasya Ras are both present on the platform of Sakhya Ras. On the platform of fraternity, the qualities of Dasya Ras, fraternity means friendship, Sakhya Ras, the qualities of Dasya Ras are mixed with confidence of fraternity, friendship, instead of awe and veneration. So in in Dasya Rasa, there's this Sambrahma Gaurava, awe and veneration. Like classical example is Hanumanji, emblem of Sakyara, or emblem of Dasya Rasa, awe and reverence. In Sakya Ras, there's friendship. So we should remember that each, as one goes up in the rasa ladder, as Srila Prabhupada describes in Intro to Bhagavad Gita, the preceding rasas are temporarily included in, but they're not the foundational thing. So Dasya Sakyaras can include Dasyaras and Santaras, but it's different. How is it different? So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, on the Sakya Ras platform, the devotees sometimes offers the Lord service and sometimes makes Krishna serve him in exchange. Sometimes offers Lord service and sometimes makes Krishna serve him in exchange. And they mock fighting the cowherd boys would sometimes climb on Krishna's shoulder and sometimes they would make Krishna climb on their shoulders. Hanumanji would never think of that, considering even that. So remember, I mentioned before the quality, or Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says the quality in Dasya Rasa is Sambrahma Gaurava, awe and veneration. And the fundamental quality in Sakyaras is Vishrambha. Vishrambha. So awe and veneration, awe and veneration are absent on the platform of Sakya, friendship, since this rasa is predominated by confidential service. Therefore, Sakya rasa is characterized by qualities of three rasas. This means Vishrambha means a platform of equality. Platform of equality. He says, on the platform of Sakyaras, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Bhagavan, is controlled by the devotees who are intimate with him and think themselves equal to him. There are many wonderful examples of, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, for example, where, so here, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur actually makes a comment for this verse, that in this verse, what's happening is Arjuna is kind of having a situation where in separation from Bhagwan, his dasya bhav, this dasya ras is coming and causing his friendship, sakhya ras, to recede. Now, going into rasa theory, sthai bhav is eternal. It cannot be changed. Mother Yashoda will always be Vatsalya ras, and the gopis will always be in Mathura ras. And Draupadi, Arjun, Udamangal, etc. will always be in Sakya ras. And Hanumanji will always be in Dasya ras. And you can see this in examples in Chaitanya Charitamrita. One of the examples is Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami was a pujari in Srirangam, and he had affection for Sri Lakshmi Narayan. And Mahaprabhu spoke to him about the glories of Sri Radha Krishna. And after extensively hearing from Mahaprabhu, Gopal Bhatt Goswami's Sthai Bhav for Radha Krishna manifested. Because even though he was worshipping, it's explained by Acharyas, even though he was worshipping Sri Lakshmi Narayan, his heart, his Sthai Bhav wasn't totally established at that point. So at that point where once its Sthai Bhav was not established, it was modifiable by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There was another point of Murari Gupta, who is known as an incarnation of Hanuman. And Mahaprabhu glorified Radha Krishna like anything to Murari Gupta. And he went home and started thinking about this, about giving his heart to Krishna, giving his heart to Krishna. And he was tortured by this. He was tortured by it. And he could not, he felt like he had to give up his life. And he could just not tolerate it. And he spoke to Mahaprabhu and caught hold of Mahaprabhu's feet and started crying. And he said, I've sold my head to Sri Ramchandraji. And I cannot withdraw my head now, for it would give me too much pain to do so. If I do not do that, then I'm disobeying your order. What am I to do? You're all merciful. Bestow your mercy on me. Let me die before you so my doubts can vanish. And Mahaprabhu picked up Murari Gupta and embraced him and said, all glories to you, Murari Gupta. Your worship is firmly fixed in your mind. It did not alter even upon our request. The servant should love his Lord just like this. Even if the Lord wants separation, the servant cannot give up lotus feet of Bhagavan. It was just to test your firm faith in your Lord that I repeatedly urged you to worship from Sri Ramchandraji to Sri Krishna Bhagavan. You are Hanuman, the servant of Sri Ram, and that's your ras. Why should you give up the worship of Sri Ram? And the Mahaprabhu wrapped it up by saying, Murari Gupta is my life and soul. Hearing of his life brings spiritual ecstasy to myself. These examples are also there for, Sri Sanatana Goswami's and Rupa Goswami's younger brother, Vallabha Anupam, he was called. He was a Ram Bhakta, and Sanatana Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami are Krishna Bhaktas. And they try to obviously, draw him into Krishna Bhakti. And they revealed to Mahaprabhu that Anupam said, okay, give me the Sri Krishna mantra. But he stayed up all night thinking about how shall I give up the feet of Sri Ramchandraji. The whole night he was crying. And he said, I can't take it back. I can't take it back. I can't give up the lotus feet of Sri Ram. My heart breaks when I think I need to do so. So they both embraced him, and Mahaprabhu himself said, that this is your, glorious is that servant who the Lord pulls up by his hair from the ocean of material ignorance. Glorious is that servant who does not leave his Bhagwan. So Sthai Bhav, once established, cannot be changed. So even though there are moments in the Gita we see distinctly in chapter 11, it demonstrates this, where Arjun sees Shri Krishna in the form of opulence and is astonished, and then he sees him in Kal Rup, form of death, and he gets disturbed, and he becomes in the mood of Dasya Ras. And once he comes into that mood, he gets very disturbed because that's not, his actual mood. And as a consequence, he pleads with Krishna to reveal his two-handed form. And when Shri Krishna Bhagavan does that, then Arjun automatically becomes peaceful because he's situated back in his sthai bhav of Sakya Ras. So the mood of separation can change, can create these waves in one's relationship with Bhagavan. But ultimately, that relationship is eternal and does not change. And we'll see that later on in this chapter, where in verse 30, it says, because of the Lord's pastimes and activities, and because of his absence, meaning separation, it appeared that Arjun forgot the instructions left by Personality Godhead. But factually, this was not the case, and again, he became the Lord of his senses, meaning Arjun regained control of his senses. By just remembering the words Gitam Bhagavatam, Bhagavan, the pain of separation was extinguished, indicating that knowledge of Gita is not forgotten even by the influence of time and even by the influence of material situation. Your situation may change, but the words of Bhagavan and the relationship cannot. So I think some take-home messages to absorb ourselves on is that absorption in Krishna and dependence on Krishna are the two aspects of every devotee's spiritual life. Absorption in Krishna and dependence on Krishna as one's shelter is Sharanagati. In the material world, people are absorbed in their own self and a lot of faith and pride in their own intellectual capabilities. But opposed to that, the Lord's associates are totally absorbed in thoughts of how to serve Krishna Bhagwan, and totally dependent and accepting Lord's shelter to fulfill their own desires to serve him. So absorption in Krishna and dependence on Shri Krishna are very important. And what about in practical situations where difficult external circumstances arise, like this example of Arjun? So we should understand that difficulties in external circumstances are due to our karma and ultimately to Shri Krishna's sanction. Our only freedom in such situation is within the realm of our response and our attitude. This is our choice. So the challenge in difficult circumstances is to accept the shelter of Shri Krishna in the process of bhakti, and to know what is internally required, taking shelter of Shastra. Now we see in the example of the Pandavas, taking shelter of Shri Krishna Bhagavan is not just accepting circumstances and sitting back. It's a position of active dependence on Bhagavan. Means working, doing one's duty, acting correctly according to the need at that time, yet trusting the results to Him. We see this continuously in the lives of the Pandavas and other great devotees. Active dependence, absorption in Krishna, dependence on Krishna. Understanding, that our freedom in material situations lies in how we respond and our attitude. And how we respond should be dictated by understanding of Shastra. Yet not just, complacently sitting back and not acting. Doing what we need to do according to the need, yet trusting that everything occurs because of Bhagwan's shelter. We can pray for Bhagwan's protection, or we can just simply pray for Bhagwan's shelter, as we discussed earlier. Both are very meaningful, and devotees have demonstrated both. I will end. So, where we explored today Shri Arjun and how due to the pain of separation, he was feeling intense grief like he did in Gita, but how the words of the Gita consoled Arjun, including Lord Krishna's promise that my devotee will never perish. And we discussed how such mindset requires the act of shelter taking, called surrender, Sharanagati. The essence of Sharanagati is accepting the Lord as one's maintainer and protector. And then one can either pray for that, or one can just simply take shelter of Bhagwan and act in the relationship that one has. Now, currently, most of us are going to be in Dasya, also, as servants of Bhagwan. And we can act on that and take shelter of that in difficult times and in wonderful external times. But always be absorbed in Krishna, take a shelter, depend upon Him as your maintainer and protector, but do the needful at the time of the hour. Any questions, comments? Go back.
I have a
Krishna.
question. Can I?
Yes.
Roji, how much is too much and how much is too less? Like any endeavor, does Guru decides that, or you have to individually take a call? Any effort, any case or any litigation, if, for the moment, or anything in any effort in any life, how much is too much and how much is too less? Who decides that barometer in life for any effort or any endeavor in life? Guru decides
You.
that, or you have to take a own call?
You decide. You have some independence. Our, like I said, our freedom lies in the extent of our response and our attitude. So I think most people contemplate how they're going to respond. But the first contemplation should be, what should be our attitude? Our attitude should be, let me take shelter of Bhagwan. Shelter of Bhagwan means, let me do that which is pleasing to Bhagwan in all circumstances. And let me go into this with that attitude, that I'm simply a nimittam matram. I'm a tiny instrument in the hands of Bhagwan. And let me always act in a manner that's pleasing to Him and faithful to the instructions of my Guru. So you have freedom. We're not robots, Lord gives us free will. Our free will has limited, radius of impact. But our attitude is most important. And that attitude should, if it's devotionally inclined, will gauge our response appropriately. If our attitude is inclined towards me, then it won't do the same thing. And it will cause distress. Because if I'm at the center, then then there's going to be a problem. Because I'm under influence of gunas. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
So we should check our attitude. Is it one of absorption in Krishna and dependence on Krishna? And then is it consistent with the instructions of Krishna through the Shastra and his great devotees? Okay?
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, sharing that anybody wants to do?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Happy
Hare Krishna
Radhashtami.
Prabhu. Happy Radhashtami. Thank you so much for a wonderful class, Prabhu. A lot of deep points to ponder on. I really like what you said about the points about asking for Bhagwan's protection versus taking his shelter, knowing that he has a plan for his devotees. Prabhu, can you talk more about the Sthai Bhav? I have questions like the Sthai Bhav, when does it manifest? And because you gave examples of Murari Gupta and also gave examples of Gopalabhatta Goswami. In my mind, I thought it was a predetermined bhava, or based on the disposition of the devotee, or is it something that can change during your devotional service, or is it too much of a confidential topic? Yeah, Prabhu, I have some questions. Please go.
It's not too much of a confidential topic. So Sri Rupa Goswami in the Eastern Division in chapter 2 talks about sadhana, bhava, and prema. So he says kirti sadhyat sadhya bhavat. So what that means is action of the senses. Kriti means actions of the senses or mind are called sadhana bhakti. And he says definition of sadhana bhakti is if done properly, it generates bhav. Now, bhav is not created, it manifests within the heart of a devotee. How? It's not created, then how does it manifest? It manifests through Bhagwan's Sarup Shakti, Ladni Shakti, Bhakti Devi in particular. So we know we're doing sadhana correctly if sadhana should, the sadhya, the result of sadhana through our senses should result ultimately in bhav. And then bhav, prema is bhav condensed, meaning strengthened. So by acting in sadhana bhakti, taking the limbs of sadhana, shravanam, kirtanam, smaranam, etc., doing that faithfully and sincerely will generate manifestation of Lord's Haladni Shakti, resulting in bhav. Now, sadhana bhav, bhakti, can be, as you know, through Vedi, meaning through regulations of scriptures, or raganuga. And raganuga means to follow those that are ragatmik devotees. For most of us, it'll be sadhana bhakti, Vedi sadhana bhakti. So, listen, it's not confidential. Sri Rupa Goswami speaks about it. So the idea is the ocean of bhakti rasa is love of God. And like Sri Rupa Goswami says, Sthai Bhav ultimately is one, which is love of Bhagwan, Krishna Prem. It has 5 different flavors. Santa, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, mother. And those flavors will manifest when one is when one is in the platform of Bhava. These devotees that I mentioned, I mean, Gupta is incarnation of Hanumanji. So, not one of us, eternal relationship. Whereas the other two, the example of, Venkat Bhatt, etc., is Gopal Bhatt, etc., is different because theirs was not established, and through the influence of mercy of a great devotee, i.e., Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it was established. What their relationship was of Krishna, their dedication to Shri Radha Krishna. So I would say, this is not confidential. It's discussed in Eastern Division of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Sthai Bhav just means a permanent emotion. There can be secondary emotions, like we showed of, Sakya Ras having Dasya Ras within it and Shanta Ras within it, etc. But once one has achieved that eternal Sthai Bhav, then at that point, that's fixed. So I'll just say that for now. We can talk separately if you want to discuss more about it. But I hope that addressed some of what you were asking.
Definitely, Prabhu. Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Comments? Hare Krishna.
Thank you for a nice lecture and emphasizing the importance of absorption and dependence on Krishna. I have one question, Prabhu, if you allow me. We are
Yes.
5 over, but how can we balance our own efforts in surrendering to Krishna, knowing Krishna is our maintainer and protector? I mean, ultimately,
I
whatever
understand.
activity we do, like to make our spiritual life, like our surrendering process stronger and stronger, knowing Krishna as our maintainer and protector, right? I mean, definitely through Shastra,
I think you're asking the position of accepting Krishna Bhagavan as one's shelter and protector while engaging in activities, meaning our own effort. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, Prabhu. It's majorly about our own efforts. Yeah.
Yeah, we should sincerely do our best, understanding that our best will always be insufficient. So devotee simultaneously acts as if, he needs to do the seva no matter what, while internally cultivating the understanding that Krishna's pleasure should be sustained continuously, always. So it's a position of working in dependence of something much greater than us. And I think the balance comes when one is deeply absorbed in Krishna Nam, Krishna's Kirtan, hearing and the limbs of devotion service are hearing, chanting, remembering, but reading is also hearing. So reading Shastra with absorption. And reading it in the mood of accepting Krishna for who he is. So there's no hard and fast rule, but you can take in your life examples from other devotees that you feel inspire you and how they do seva in a mood that's pleasing to Bhagwan. Mamchaya Bicharena Bhakti Yogina Sevaya Saguna Samitityan Bhama Bhuya Kalpate. Right? Very famous verse.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Let me finish, Mataji, please.
I have one question.
Mataji, can I finish this?
Yeah.
I have to also end, Mataji, because there's an emergency in the hospital and I have to respond to the doctor. So this is Mamchaya Abhicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevaya Saguna Samitityan Brahma Bhuya Kalpate. One who engages in full devotion service, unfailing in all circumstances, once transcends the modes of nature, comes to the level of Brahman. So the mode of service will overcome the mode of nature. That's a saying from my Guru Maharaj. The mode of service will overcome the mode of nature. So just be in that humble service attitude, okay?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vijay Lakshmi Mataji, if it can be fast, because 9:10 and I have to
Yeah.
respond to the hospital, but go ahead, please.
In my Bhava Bhakti is more important. Without Bhava Bhakti, we cannot go to Sadhana Bhakti.
No, that's not correct.
Moda Bhakti is also important.
No, that's incorrect what you said. Sadhana Bhakti leads to Bhav Bhakti. It's not that without Bhava Bhakti we can't go to Sadhana Bhakti. No, all of us, at least myself, we're doing Sadhana Bhakti. We're following the guidelines of Shastra in trying to engage ourselves in the service of Bhagwan. And if we do that consistently and with attentively, then eventually we, through Bhagwan's grace and the grace of his great devotees, then Bhava Bhakti will manifest in the heart. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
So Sadhana Bhakti first. Okay, I'll stop. I'm sorry, normally I wouldn't stop at all, but I told that other doctor for the emergency that I would contact him in an hour, so I need to do that, okay? Take care, devotees. Happy Shri Radhashtami. Please come to the temple and participate. Haribol. Bye-bye.
Very well. Thank you.